Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you doing, Taline?
Good. You?
Fine, thanks. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. I
Yeah,
didn't know it was you.
yeah. Last time I saw you, I think was here in Guatemala, right?
Yeah, that was Guatemala. In a
Wow.
while.
Yeah. And I was watching your profile. You do everything. Oh, that's so exciting. Are you going to Mexico expedition?
Yeah, I'm going to Mexico.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so nice.
I try to do everything, to be honest. Usually I say yes, and then it's like, okay. let's work this out.
Yeah. So nice. So thank you for being in the spotlight. And this is a special space that we were taking a moment to connect, share, and reflect on our spiritual journey. And through these conversations, we hope to strengthen our bonds as a community and encourage one another along the path. So thank you for being here, Taline, and for
Thank you.
your heart with us.
Thank you.
So, when you start with your journey, was there a moment or a phase that in your life when you realized something deeper was calling you?
I think when I look back, I've always been a seeker, even when I was really young. I was always, I always knew there was something more.
Yeah.
So from a very young age, I used to read a lot and ask a lot of questions, and I got pretty involved in conventional religion. So I was born a Christian, so a lot of that, I went to Catholic school, so I bought into all of that, and and then I experimented with other things, but nothing actually, it was never complete.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for example, I could never believe people go to hell. I didn't think hell existed because that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah, so things like that, it was always okay. I would get somewhere and then it's like, okay, this is not 100%. There's always a red flag somewhere. So move on to the same next thing. And so I explored a lot of religions. I got deep into some of them, and then I got into all the self-help phase. So I did all the Tony Robbins and went to workshops and, listened to all the tapes. So it was always searching for something. And then in, I think 2016, I had a few major life events that kind of, it actually shook my foundation. So it was one day, it was like, who am I? What am I? And how could I be so wrong about everything? And, life is so different. I
Yeah.
thought I knew things, but looks like I don't know anything. And that's when, again, the search started, and I, it was actually in 2017, I met my yoga teacher.
Wow.
So, through yoga, and then she introduced me to certain gurus, and then through, I did other things, sound healing and little things. And then eventually in 2018, through Facebook, I came to Asil. I saw his profile and he was talking about healing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time what the channel was. I had no idea, but I knew I had to come. So I just booked, bought a ticket. And then I watched his videos and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? What did you get yourself
Yeah,
into?
I know. Yeah, his energy is so powerful, right? And when you
Yeah,
feel it for the first time, it was like, wow, this is amazing. This is so different from the other paths that
yeah.
to right.
So I met Asil, so that was end of 2018, and then through him, George and Matilde, because I was living in Dubai. And that's when it was like it became concrete. And it was I was sure that this is the path, because unlike everything I tested or been in, not there was no red flag this time. There was nothing that, came from the guides that was a little red flag. No, I don't believe this. Or, so that was it. That was the turnaround. I knew that, okay, I'm gonna stick to this one.
Yeah.
And
That
here
was
we
it.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, here we are. A
Yes.
few years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was your turning point. What's something that you discovered about yourself through your spiritual work that you have never anticipated when you started?
Okay, about myself, I don't know if there's so much about myself, but about maybe about life. And the biggest lesson I learned through this work and through, yeah, I guess the guides overall and George and Matilda and at the time in Dubai was that you're responsible for your own life. It's like as within, so without. So that was it. That was like the freedom. It was like the chains came off. It's not easy to take accountability because you're always going to, you always have to think in everything, good or bad. Okay, what is the lesson? And I am responsible for what has just unfolded somehow, consciously or consciously, we've chosen our life's path, and whatever, manifests in reality is something we've chosen, we've created, we've agreed to. And that was the biggest learning and realization. And that really led to, okay, what are the changes I have to make within myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when these changes, when you talk about these changes that you make in your life, in which ways had this transformation impacted your relationships, your career, your sense of purpose? How did this change?
Okay. Oh, well, a lot has changed. I mean, it took a long time. So if I just go back to the story with Gil and Evolution One, it's like I said, I met end of 2018, and then 2019 I went on the first expedition to Turkey.
Yeah.
That was really the first time I had like a conversation with Asil, and he asked me, "So what then?" And it was all new. Or what do you think is next? And I remember telling him, "Well, I think this is it." You know, this is it for me. I think this is, yeah, as far as things would go. I mean, Turkey blew me away because it was the first time I saw magic happen. It was like, oh, wow, this is magical, miracles everywhere. Yeah, I was never exposed to that. So it blew me away. But I thought that's it, I'm going to have this side project of spirituality and grow in that, and life would not, and everything else would be the same. But that's not how it happened, obviously. I mean, it took years, and then I got to a point where you look back and you're a different person.
Totally.
Yeah, you are not the same person. There's no way you are the same person. The way you deal with people, the way you deal with challenges, you one day, yeah, you recognize, oh my God, this is not the same person that it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And then,
Exactly.
yeah, eventually in July 23, I basically, I left, I quit my job. I sold my property in Dubai. I left my family and all my friends. And I knew, I mean, I've been in banking for 32 years, and I knew that's it, no more. I'd been thinking about it for a while, but it was like, okay, this is not my life. I can't be, making or whatever, this money all the time, being involved in finance or whatever. It's not giving me any more joy. And it was like, okay, so let me move on. And I made that switch. And that was the big thing. So I'm still in transition. I have not fully landed, I think, where,
I think we
like,
never fully landed. It's
yeah,
yeah, it's all the life is a transition, I guess.
yes, exactly. So it's like, this is the last 2 years has been exactly that. How do you go with the flow? Because once you've worked for 32 years, every day of your life practically, and then it takes time to unwind from that mentality of not having a schedule, not having an alarm, and going with the flow, and not knowing what you're going to do tomorrow and what's going to happen. But it also gives you the chance to, create your life, which is really exciting, and do all this work, go to Mexico or,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. And talking about that, you do a lot of your our work of the stay connected to this work even when your life gets full of changes. How do you do that?
Okay, this also I've learned the hard way is to keep the practice, you have to make the time. You have to, and sometimes I don't. I mean, and then I realize, oh, okay, why am I feeling this way? And then, oh, I haven't opened the channel in 2 days. Or, I mean, it's really important if you have, let's say you've done Pillar of Light 3, you can open the channel or you can get into the field to do that as much as possible. You don't realize it's one of those things, you don't realize the impact until, you feel the changes. So that is really important, I think, keeping the practice and, yeah, listening to yourself, to your inner voice, connecting with yourself,
Yeah.
connecting with the divine as much as possible. Make the time for that.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, so And during this year, you became an ambassador. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. How do you balance being both a student on your own path and as an ambassador, a guide for others?
You know what? I've learned that you don't really have to balance so much because it is not. I mean, the reason I chose to be an ambassador, it's been almost 2 years, a little over that. It's not, it was like, okay, it's time I give back to the community that, that changed my life because I'd been doing the work for a bit, like more than 3 years before I volunteered to become an ambassador. So and then I realized that it's not a one way. It's not either give or take. It's all the time. It's when you give, you get, right? So you become an ambassador and you hold other people or you create a safe space and you reply to, questions, things but you are growing and learning exactly at the same time. It's not one or the other.
Wow.
So you're doing both. You give, you receive. That's what's so special about this work too with the guides I've learned. It's never a one way. It's not, give or receive. It's both at the same time. There's always an exchange, whether
Yeah,
you realize it or not.
that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
really powerful. Yeah. And what does it mean to you to serve as a representative of this community?
Well, like I said, first thing, it was like about giving back. It's time to give back. It's changed my life, and I would like this work to continue so it can change the lives of other people. So it's like, what is my part? That is, yeah, I think that's mainly it. It's what is my part in giving back and helping others. And
Yeah.
again, my growing myself all the time through this process as well.
Yeah, and it's amazing how each pathway, pillars of light, earth keepers, or becoming conscious creator, it's so different, but makes you grow in different ways. But at the end, it's all the same, right? It's beautiful how you became a better human being and more conscious in different ways. But I don't know how to explain it, but it's amazing how at the end it's a whole being.
Correct. It is a whole. And they keep telling us it is a whole. It may maybe not believe them, but we are experiencing it, right? Through all of that. Yeah, it is a whole. We can't disconnect one
Yeah.
from other. You can't be a pillar of light and be disconnected from Gaia.
Well,
It just doesn't work, right? And you had the earth keepers, that kind of frequency and energy. So to me, I don't really distinguish between the three.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah,
either this or that. It's like, it's
yeah.
after a while, it's also second nature, you're like open the channel when you're doing Earth Keeper's work. And yeah, it's all one.
Yeah, totally. And when you are in a place like in an expedition, right? You feel the energy so different and you never realize, well, this is from Pillars of Life, or this is from Earth Keepers. It's just the same, but you feel it's so nice and so different. And I don't know, it's
Yeah,
amazing being in these noddles of trauma and you realize how your inner work help the planet or the grid,
correct.
right?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's like you're working on yourself the whole time. You cannot bring those kinds of energies if you have not worked on yourself. You
Yeah.
have to, as much as possible, be a clear channel. As they say, it's not easy, but as much as possible. So you would use all the work, whether you're pillar of light or from Gaia, the Earth Keeper's work, all of that to keep your channel clean.
Yeah, exactly. And do you prepare energetically in somehow before holding space for others?
When yeah, if we're doing the group practices and stuff, for example, yes. Well, one thing is why I try to always make sure I am in complete alignment.
Yeah.
So whatever's been happening in my life up to that point, if I feel that, okay, I am not in alignment, then I take the time out to do that.
Yeah.
And, with practice, it becomes easier and faster. And then once you get into that channel and that field, and it's like much easier after that. But yeah, and then certain things like, you know, if we're doing a session and I'm holding space, you know, watch your diet, you make sure you don't eat for a few hours before, and things like that. And when you are in the session, you always keep, no matter what's happening, it's like you refocus and keep your alignment so that, you know, you're able to hold the field for everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Taline. As we close our conversation, is there anything you would like to share from your heart with our community? Perhaps a reflection, a message, or a blessing?
Okay, I will maybe just say something that's been coming up for me lately.
Yeah.
And it's just to remember that you're not alone.
Yeah.
We do this work as a community. We have the guides, we have the creators. Yeah, we're always connected. We're always connected. We are never alone. And you just trust the process. And it's not easy sometimes, but I think from my own journey, you know, that I talked a little bit about, I look back and sometimes I just think, why did it take so long? But then I look back and I see everything was in perfect timing. Everything had to happen as it had to happen, you know, because there were other parts of my life that needed attention but yeah, I think it's just trust the process and trust the timing.
Okay. Thank you, Taline, for this beautiful conversation. And
Thank
it was
you.
beautiful to know you a little bit more and hope to see you
Thank you.
again in other space.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you,
Much love.
Taline. Much
Bye.
love to you. Bye.
Bye.